Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next podcast here where we're going to be talking DraftKings and FanDuel cash games for you. Chris and I each have some cash games prepared on FanDuel and on DraftKings, and we're going to help you guys build yourself a nice cash game lineup for tonight's action. So, as you know, I'm at Big Italy 42. He's at Space Jam 23 DFS, and I know you're excited about this monster slate tonight, Chris.
So I love a huge Tuesday slate. I mean, is there anything better? The weird thing is, picking players, easy. Picking pitchers, not so much, which makes sense because we've got a lot of hitters to target because pitchers aren't that fantastic tonight. And the pitching is just not excellent. So we're going to start with pitching. We're going to go FanDuel or DK first?
Well, we'll go FanDuel first.
Alrighty.
All right, so starting things off here, we're going to run down. We're going to go one by one, each of ours. I'm going to give my pitcher, he'll give his pitcher, etc., all the way down the line, kind of give some rationale, and then maybe we'll talk about a few alternative options if you don't want to go the routes that we went with our lineup. So, with that being said, I'm going with Colin McHugh. There's no slam dunk option on this slate that's a huge favorite that I feel really comfortable about. McHugh, a very small favorite. It's essentially a pick 'em, minus 107 at Seattle. But Seattle, as we know, great pitchers park. Obviously, guys like Seager and Cano and Cruz are solid at home, especially against righties. But McHugh's got the elite upside with strikeouts, 25.4%. He's got a fine ground ball rate at 42.1%, a little bit below league average. But last year, his WOBA allowed to lefties was 272, and his WOBA to righties was 252. So the guy is excellent against both handedness of hitters, and I'm locking him into my cash games on FanDuel tonight.
Yeah, no, completely. So he is my number one option, but I did pivot over to Carlos Carrasco just for sake of showing you guys what different players can do. I like Carrasco on a pure ability. McHugh's my top option, and but Carrasco's got good stuff. He's a small favorite tonight, and I'm a fan of Carrasco mainly because he's got good stuff. And Chicago White Sox hit or miss. It is a risk. I would be ranking him second to McHugh, just based on matchup alone. I will be looking at, which is hard for me to do because Justin mentioned this before. Francisco Liriano is a minus 150 favorite, 7 over under. The money is going, 65% of Vegas money is going towards the under, and it's already at 7, and he's a minus 150 favorite. I like Liriano, but he has control issues.
Yep.
It makes me nervous on a one-pitcher site like FanDuel, where he could really destroy your cash game lineup. But on a two-pitcher site, which we'll get to, I don't mind him nearly as much. But I'm going to go with Carrasco. Good control, good talent, and this is purely a talent type pick.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, the Vegas total is really important, especially FanDuel, where you really only get the one pitcher. You got to make sure you take advantage and you get a guy in a great spot. And I mean, the Seattle game, wind is blowing in currently. It looks like 8 to 12 miles an hour, 7-run total. So all the factors there, certainly for Colin McHugh, Carrasco as well. He has the highest strikeout rate of anyone on the board tonight from last year, 26.5%. So I like that call as well. Both those guys great against both handedness of hitters. So you can go either route with those guys. I wouldn't blame you for either one. Moving on to catcher, where this one it should be pretty cut and dry for you, for me, for most people playing cash games. Derek Norris at 3K, next.
Literally.
Yep.
First baseman, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. That's all you got to do. Click Derek Norris, move on. First base, I'm going cheap here. I'm paying up for a few other bats you'll see later. I'm going with Kendrys Morales at $2,700 today. I like the cheap price. He's got a decent amount of upside, a solid floor, 19 for 53 in the early going here. He's got doubles in his last 2 games. He scores runs. The Kansas City lineup has been solid. So I'm going Kendrys Morales here, value at first base.
2,700. What a phenomenal price.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. So the more I looked at this, the more I realized how much value you can actually get at first base tonight. I plugged in Lucas Duda at 4K. I'm reviewing this again just so you guys are aware. My other value first baseman tonight is Adam Lind. The only reason I'm not liking him as much is due to the Brewers' bats just stanking it up right now, where I'm not a huge fan. The Mets' bats have actually been surprisingly hitting the ball hard. And if you look at Duda's stat lines, he put up one 2 negative games since the start of the season. All the rest of them are in the positive, which, as you know, on FanDuel is very important. So I've got Lucas Duda plugged in. You know, I love Duda tonight. I like his price, so he's my first baseman.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. Duda's the guy that I'm a big fan of as well. Another guy you could pivot to, obviously in a great scenario in Coors Field here at $3,200, assuming he's got a nice lineup spot. I believe he hit 6 last night. Yonder Alonso over here, $3,200. Not in a bad spot. He's hitting the ball fairly well, but at the same time, Tyler Matzik, tough on lefties, so that's really just a pure Coors Field play. Not a guy I'm going out of my way to target, but if you just want some cheap Coors Field exposure, he would be the guy you'd be looking to. But I still prefer a little bit cheaper Morales or a little bit more expensive Duda, like you said. All right, moving on to second base, where I will be getting myself some more exposure to Coors. Jed Jerko, $2,900. Not off to a tremendous start this season, but 3 hits in his last 2 games. Had a walk as well last night. And this is a spot where you can exploit Tyler Matzik's weakness against righties. 372 WOBA allowed last year. Jed Jerko should be batting right around 6th in that order, 5th or 6th tonight. And assuming that he's there and not buried in the order, I'm a big fan of his at $2,900. A great discount here.
Yeah, highest over-under of the day in Coors Field. You know, great matchup. 2,900. The stars align for Mr. Jerko tonight. So I did plug him in. His price is just too good. I mean, if you're not playing Jerko, what are you going to do? You're going to play Matt Carpenter for 4,400 against Gio Gonzalez? No. You're not going to play A-Rod tonight. You know, Chris Bryant, 3,600, maybe. I just love his price. Oh, we're at second. I was looking at third base.
We're still second.
My mistake. I was looking at third base right here. I'm like, what am I doing? Second base, I mean, Altuve, I talked about him in a previous podcast. D. Gordon. There's just nobody at second base tonight. If I'm not playing Jerko, however, there's only one other player I'm playing, and I'm pivoting right directly to Brian Dozier for $3K, and it's not even a question. Those are my only 2 second base plays tonight.
Yeah, Dozier great against lefties. Vargas not great against righties. Unfortunately, the Minnesota lineup not producing at all, so Dozier may have to do it on his own tonight, which is kind of takes away a little bit of his appeal for me in cash games. Less likely to get RBI chances, less likely to score runs, so that kind of hurts. Only other guy I'm considering around this price would be Dustin Pedroia at $3,200 against Chris Archer.
Yeah, I can't take Pedroia. I'm from New York, so I won't be taking Pedroia.
All right, well, you can't. I might, but looks like I'm going with Jed Jerko either way. I mean, on that same note, I mean, the Red Sox did steal my team's name when they went Red Sox because the Reds were the Red Stockings and the Red Legs first. Either way, another story for another day. A lot of Boston hate. I don't even hate Boston. I might end up with some Pedroia tonight, as you might see here in a little bit. But either way, the guy that you kind of mentioned here a minute ago, going to be a very popular play. I predicted on the FanDuel Punch-Out that I think he will be the highest owned player not playing in Coors Field tonight, and that's Chris Bryant at $3,600. He's got a good price. Pitchers are scared of this guy right now. I mean, if you look at what he's done over his past few games, I mean, 4 walks in his last 3 games, had 3 hits as well last night. The guy's coming up. He just mashed. He led every single level in home runs. He destroys left-handed pitching. I believe he had almost a 500 ISO in the minors against lefties. So at $3,600 today, I'm not going to pay up for a guy like Josh Donaldson, even though I do like him. I don't see guys that are much cheaper that I love. I mean, go Will Middlebrooks for $300 cheaper, but Chris Bryant is just such a better hitter. Not in as good of an environment, obviously, being at PNC, but he's just such a great hitter, and at that price, you're going to need to get yourself some exposure, I think, because so many people will be on him. If for no other reason, you could just kind of cancel out third base in a lot of your head-to-heads.
I agree. So Chris Bryant is amazing, to say the least. I would plug him in. Note that he is probably the top play for 2 reasons, ownership and upside. If his ownership is 60% and his upside is 7 and you don't have him, you are looking in trouble. Yep. So that makes him a pretty good cash game play. I am going to pivot for the sake of this video. And my favorite pivot to third base is Jacob Lamb. I'm a huge D-backs fan tonight. And if you look at his game logs, he's 3,100. He has not had negative points to start the season, not in one game. His highest is 9.5. He's hit over 7 twice. I mean, he gets 5. He's in the 2 range. He's just a solid hitter in a good environment. I like I like Jacob Lamb a lot tonight at third base. If I am pivoting, there's a couple interesting pivots right there. David Freese, which I mentioned earlier, I like. I think he's got a ton of upside. Louis Valbuena, 3,200. He's mostly GPP only, but we did talk. Walker has shown some serious issues, and Valbuena's possibly the hottest third baseman statistically right now. I mean, 3 home runs past 2 games, 5 RBIs, 3 hits. The guy's just mashing right now. Or possibly, I believe we talked about Josh Harrison, who's also 3,100. So you're essentially playing Chris Bryant or 3,100.
Yep.
And that's kind of the only options. I prefer Chris Bryant, but if you decide to split your action, which I don't mind doing in cash games, I'm probably pivoting to one of those guys just because we talked about Chris Bryant's ownership, and it goes both ways. If he's 60% owned and goes 1 for 4 with a single, you can gain a significant edge on 60% of the field and lock up your lineups.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking in GPPs. He's a great fade, but cash games, I'm definitely afraid, especially on FanDuel, to not have some Chris Bryant because he should be, and I assume will be, pretty heavily owned for those reasons as well. All right, moving on to shortstop, where I'm punting the position, getting myself some cheap exposure, and nothing official yet, but it looks like Jordy Mercer should be back tonight. I'm hoping that he is. He mashes lefties. Travis Wood, 371 WOBA allowed to righties last year. He's bad against righties. Combine those two factors and then add in the fact that he's absolute minimum salary at 2,200. Yes, please. I would love some Jordy Mercer. I hope he's hitting around second in the order, but even if he's down around 6th or 7th at min salary in a good matchup, I don't mind slotting him in there at shortstop tonight.
No, I slotted him in there at shortstop too, so that's who my shortstop is. But for sake of this podcast, Troy Tulowitzki is 5,300. He's clearly the most expensive shortstop. He's clearly the best shortstop. And we've given you value pretty much across the board, every position. If you can fit Tulo in tonight, fit Tulo in tonight. He's going to get you however many points. He's the best shortstop in baseball. I do like Tulo. And then my other mid-range shortstop that I don't mind is Johnny Peralta. I don't mind him, not really a ton. He's going to be very low, where if you're putting your shortstop in last, you've got 2,900. I'm probably taking Peralta over Mercer. I'm not going to leave 700 on the table. But like I said, that's if I'm building in reverse and my shortstop is last. My goal is probably to put shortstop first and just plug in Mercer and move on to the outfield.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I think that's a solid reasoning, and when you can get a good hitter for that cheap, especially at a position like shortstop where there's not a ton of upside outside of guys like Tulowitzki, maybe an Ian Desmond, then I really like to save money where I can. So moving on here to the outfield, where, as everyone knows, and I'm not the only one here, when he is in a good environment against a bad or average lefty, Adam Jones will find his way into most of my lineups. Today is that day. $5,100, his price is really getting up there, but still only the third most expensive hitter on the board at outfield, and he gets the shell of Mark Burley. So Mark Burley now obviously a contact pitcher more so than he ever was. In the Rogers Center, Adam Jones absolutely on fire in the early going this year. 21 for 48. He's got 5 homers, 16 RBIs already. The guy gets positive points every game. I mean, I absolutely love Adam Jones. I'm getting myself a ton of exposure here.
Yeah, no, Adam Jones is a phenomenal play tonight. As you know, I love Andrew McCutchen tonight because of his price point. He's 4,500. He's had a slow start to the season, but it is Andrew McCutchen. He's going to turn it around. And I think just his price against Wood tonight, his WOBA was 420 WOBA. I believe his ISO was 241. Don't have it up right in front of me. 241 ISO, 420 WOBA versus left-handed pitching. A fly ball rate of 43%. Home run to fly ball rate of 14%. The guy puts up big numbers. He's a big-time player. And I remember, it wasn't a baseball player that said this, but big-time players make big-time plays. So I'm a big fan of McCutchen tonight. He's a big-time player. I expect a big-time play out of him.
Yeah, I like that. When you can get the best player in the best position, that's really the way you want to go. Guys like Andrew McCutchen, yes, they'll have their cold streaks, as all baseball players do, but at the end of the day, he's still one of the best hitters in the game. So you can get him at a discount. Take advantage while you can. My next up player here in cash is going to be Michael Kadire. He's $3,400 on FanDuel tonight. Off to a nice start after a really bad first week. Just absolutely on fire right now. And Trevor Cahill he got slaughtered in his first outing. Gave up 5 hits in 2 innings. Just got crushed. And Michael Kadire, you look at his logs recently: 3.5, 4.5, 4.5, 3.25, 3, 4.5, 7.25. The guy is just getting on base. He's doing everything he can for this team. He and Duda, are really just carrying the load there for the Mets. I love Michael Kadire tonight for cash games.
Yep, love Michael Kadire too. I'm a huge AJ Pollock fan. I've been riding him pretty hard this beginning part of the season. We look at his game logs: 2.25, 7, 4, 8, 10.75, 4.5. The guy's all over the board. He can put up big numbers. He gets on base. He's got 1 negative outing where he had 1 at bat, minus 0.25. Everything else, he's in the positive. I like his price, $3,500. I like his matchup, and they're my favorite stack of the night, so I think they're going to score some runs. So locking in Andrew Pollock in my outfield.
Yeah, and along those same lines, I'm going with another Arizona bat who is, $3,200. Ender Inciarte, off to a nice start this year. Facing off against Nick Martinez, who hasn't allowed an earned run in 2 starts. I'm not buying it. I know most other people probably are not buying it. He was not a good pitcher last year. He's not been a good pitcher throughout his career, his young career, I should say. But I still think Arizona puts up some numbers on him tonight. And at $3,200, Inciarte is the guy who's got some speed. He doesn't have much power, but every once in a while he'll swipe a bag as well. He's got a couple steals on the year, and he's the guy that puts the ball in play. So I'm a big fan of his tonight at $3,200.
Yeah, no, he's got a great price. This is a punt play for me. Outfield, Houston Astros against Seattle Mariners. Colby Rasmus. He's probably batting about 7th in the order. He's 2,700. But if I'm punting, I'm getting some power for it. He's got a 240 ISO versus right-handed pitching, 44 fly ball rate, 19% home run, 2 fly ball rate. I like him. I called him tonight. I think he's my dong of the night for cheap outfielders. Huge fan of Rasmus, and honestly, this is just a punt play to get the players I really like. If I'm punting, he might get me negative points, but if he hits a home run, it's putting me in a great spot. When I punt, that's what I look for. If you guys have watched my videos before, my punts aren't for a high floor. My punts are for more of an upside of, are you going to score me points? Okay, it might be worth it to play you. I don't want 0.25 out of Rasmus. I want 2 or nothing, 3 or nothing. So I like Rasmus tonight as my punt play in the outfield.
Yeah, I like that call definitely against pitchers really been struggling to start the season. All right, we're going to go ahead and shift over to DraftKings now and talk about cash games on there. And not a lot to be said here about starting pitcher. We both talked about our 2 favorite pitchers, Carrasco and McHugh, and I believe we're both going with that duo here in cash tonight, right?
Yeah, no, we both gave our analysis on them on the FanDuel. It just makes sense. When you look at their price points, you've got Carrasco, 8,300, McHugh's 8,100. So essentially, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pitchers over both of their prices. You do have Chris Archer, who's just a little bit less than Carrasco, but against Boston. Love Carrasco, love McHugh. Lariano's too expensive, 8,700. Gio's too expensive, 8,900. Lance Lynn, 9K. It just doesn't make sense to pay up, and there's no one to pay down for. Brandon Morrow's got talent, but he's playing against Colorado in Coors.
Yep.
Pomeranz has talent, but he's playing against the Angels in LA. There's just not really great matchups for our cheap players. I know Trevor Cahill has shown signs last year of being like a high strikeout, has some upside, but he struggled his first outing. He's playing at the Mets, who we like Duda, we like some Mets. So make it easy, make it right, put in Carrasco and McHugh.
Yeah, you get the 2 highest strikeout total or strikeout rates on the board of any starting pitchers. You get a really low total in Seattle, lowest on the board. The one in Cleveland is 8, which isn't great, but at the same time, Cleveland's a favorite here. You're expecting they're going to score more runs than the White Sox, and there's really no need to be different. All the other pitching options are in really tough spots. If you ask me, like you mentioned, a lot of guys. You got Boston, LA, all the tough offensive teams. I'm not trying to target those guys in my cash games. All right, next up, catcher Derek Norris. Next, once again. All right, first base. As you know, as I like to do, I like to take the best hitter with a high floor and a high ceiling at first base. And that guy, once again, is Joey Votto. at $4,900 for me. That should be no surprise to anyone who knows me, but the guy puts the ball in play. He gets on base. He's showing some power again. And against a fly ball pitcher and Mike Fiers, sign me up.
Yeah, so Justin, Joey Votto, 42, always loves Joey Votto. I'm a big fan of Lucas Duda tonight in general, more so on DK because his price is $3,600.
Yeah. That
is an amazing price. When we consider, same price as a John Mayberry, James Loney, Chris Carter, Joe Mauer, both more expensive than Lucas Duda tonight. Mike Napoli, Matt Adams. There's just so many more players expensive than him tonight. I already liked him, and now he's at a depressed price, which I'm not too sure why. So I'm going to take advantage of Duda, plug him in at my first base, and then move on to my second baseman. Moving over to second base, love Jed Jericho tonight. I'm looking to get my value from Coors. And second base, I don't love anything. Yeah, I love D. Gordon. He's 5,100. Brian Dozier's 4,700. There's just a lot of overpriced second basemen tonight. If we're looking to target, at second base tonight, I'm making it simple. Let's look at price versus output and expected output and talent. So you're getting Jed Jericho with 4,100 in Coors, or you can get maybe like a Dustin Pedroia, who I believe Justin is on for 3,800 against Archer. Yeah, tough matchup, but $3,800 is Dustin Pedroia. He's a good baseball player. He's going to get on base. And then if you're looking to be a little bit riskier and you want a little bit more upside, Luis Valbuena is 3,900. This season, he has 5 home runs. He's got 3 in the past 2 games, 5 ribbies, 2 walks. He's playing great. So those are my 3 second baseman options.
Yeah, and you were right about that. I am going with Dustin Pedroia there at 3,800. I mean, he's too good of a hitter for this price tag in my mind. And Chris Archer, a fine pitcher, but 307 WOBA allowed to righties is right around average. And we know Dustin Pedroia's got upside. That lineup scores a lot of runs. So if they get it going, he should be a big part of that. And I'm trying to get myself a piece of all the best offensive lineups tonight. And I think that's a great way to go at that price. So it's my little bit of a swerve off Jerko there, but I think the Pedroia is in a good spot, definitely. And bats high in the order, which is something I really like to have in my cash games as well. So I'm a big fan there. And moving over to third base, we've got Will Middlebrooks at $4,100 is the way I'm going tonight. Batting in the heart of the order for the Padres against Tyler Matzik, who, as we said multiple times now, struggles against righties. Coors Field, yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, I went Middlebrooks as well. I think it's pretty safe to say. Do the same thing I can talk about Valbuena because he's the same price and third base eligible. Also, you can pivot to Chris Bryant, 4,200. You know what we like about him on FanDuel. Nothing changes to DK. He's 4,200. He's 100 more than Middlebrooks. I mean, if you could fit him, go for it.
Yeah.
If you can't fit him, put Middlebrooks if you need 100 more. I'm not getting too creative at third base. I think it's pretty straightforward. Will Middlebrooks, Chris Bryant, or maybe Valbuena for the upside.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you there. It's pretty cut and dry for me. I'm not searching too deep there. I want to get the best guys in the best spots. I think those are the guys that we should be targeting. And nice discount here at shortstop. I was trying to decide if I was going to pay down. You don't get the same kind of discount with Jordy Mercer that you get on FanDuel. He's sitting at $3,900. $300 cheaper than him comes in the leadoff hitter for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and that's Jimmy Rollins. I mean, the guy isn't off to a tremendous start this year, batting .229, but he has walked in each of his last – he has 5 walks in his last 4 games. So even though the guy's not hitting the ball great, he's giving you good at-bats, and that's what you want in your cash games. You want good at-bats, guys who are patient, guys who can put the ball in play, guys who are in good batting spots, guys who have big hitters behind him, and Rollins has all those factors and a cheap price tag tonight. $3,600. I think he's a pretty easy play at shortstop tonight for cash games.
Yeah, he's my number 1 cash game play on DK. Honestly, probably is one of my top shortstop plays too. I think this is weird, so I rarely get to say this, but when players create lineups, there's a very specific way the majority of the DFS world makes lineups. They start scrolling from the top and they see players. On DK shortstop, you get around 3,900 and you get Marcus Semien, J.J. Hardy, Francisco Lindor, Jung Ho Kang, Miguel Sano. You start seeing these names And instantly the reaction is, okay, I'm going to go back to the top. So Jimmy Rollins falls below all of those players, and he's about halfway down. I think Jimmy Rollins goes under-owned in GPPs tonight as well by non-sharp players. I think Jimmy Rollins might be the best, not overall play, but the sneakiest play in general. Top cash game play, great GPP play because of his price and because of that reasoning.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Awesome value, and that was a good point there with the scrolling. I mean, one of the first things I do each morning is to go start from the bottom to see which guys are underpriced. I don't care about who's overpriced because I don't need the overpriced guys. I need the underpriced guys. So that's exactly how I came across Jimmy Rollins this morning, scrolling from the bottom, seeing that price, instant click in my lineup. So
you mean, Justin, you started from the bottom, now you're here?
Now I'm here, and now I get Jimmy Rollins for $3,600. So
fantastic.
It worked out well for, I don't know how well it worked out for Drake. I don't really care, but it worked out well for me. So I'm going to get myself some Jimmy Rollins. Drake probably won't play him tonight, and I'll take his money in a head-to-head. So come find me, Drake. Moving on here to the outfield. You already know my top play, Adam Jones. I'm paying a premium for him tonight at $5,400. The pitchers really aren't that expensive on DraftKings today. We already mentioned both guys around $8K. Not hard to get some top bats in your lineup. My top bats, Adam Jones is going to be one of them.
Yeah, go for it, Mr. Jones. We know you're the Jones homer. I'm not going to take Adam Jones from you, but I wore a flannel shirt today. My initials are CR. If you click Charlie Blackmon, his hat says CR and he has a beard. It makes sense that I would have to select him on a day like today. He's in Coors, probably batting leadoff. Had some injuries yesterday. Corey Dickerson, not sure if he's going to be playing today. He's day-to-day. It looked like he had a little bit of a sore hammy. But you want to talk about consistency and stat line. I mean, Blackmon scores he gets a DraftKings points every game. He doesn't put zeros on the board. He can put a 25 on the board. 22, 16. The guy's got home run pop, stolen base pop, single pop, double pop. I don't even know what I'm saying pop. He is a very good baseball player in Coors Field tonight. 4,500. Love his price. Love that his initials are the same as his team. Go for it. Charlie Blackmon. But jokes aside, he's a great play tonight, batting leadoff in Colorado. Gets on base, and I just love his price tag of 4,500. I can't get away from it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he makes for a great way to get some exposure to that game. And at his price, you're not expecting or even needing a home run. I mean, like you said, he gets a walk, a run scored, maybe 2 hits. I mean, that easily pays off that tag, gets you that cheap exposure, and a little bit of upside as well. So I like that call a lot. Next up, I'm going with Bryce Harper. The guy's been locked in early this season. 4 home runs already on the season. Tonight facing off against Lance Lynn, who is worse against lefties than righties. Really tough on righties. 284 will allow, but 314 allowed to lefties. And Bryce Harper, I mean, he's been in the heart of that order. A guy who's finally batting clean up where he belongs. And that's a pretty hot lineup right now. So at $4,300, I'm taking a discount on a guy with a pretty safe floor and really high upside in Bryce Harper tonight.
So you and I did not we didn't talk about this earlier, but I actually decided and I put in Bryce Harper in my catch game lineup, which is really interesting because neither of us discussed that. Yep. Same exact reason. I've been watching, disclaimer, my brother is a diehard Washington Nationals fan, and I've been watching more Nationals baseball lately than I would care to admit, but he is swinging a solid bat. That he's confident. He's finally, I feel like he's hit that curve on, he had this big hype. He struggled. He has injuries. This year, he's swinging hard. He's aggressive. I love Bryce Harper. His price is amazing. 4,300 with that upside. I mean, I can't get away from it.
Yeah, and I mean, the kid's 22. I mean, he's been in the league for 4 years, but he's 22. So it's nowhere but up for him still. With Bryce Harper, I mean, a lot of the pressure, we talked about it before, how he came up with Mike Trout. Everyone wanted him to be Mike Trout. He was never going to be Mike Trout. Just go ahead and just keep being Bryce Harper, and I'll keep taking advantage of his cheap price tags. That's all I want.
Yeah.
My last guy here, and this is going to be a cash game filler, but a guy that's swinging a nice bat. I mean, doesn't have a ton of power, but this guy gets on base. Nick Markakis, $3,600 today, facing off against John Neese. And this is a guy, if you look at his recent game logs, it's just production. I mean, 2 hits in his last game, 1 the game before that, 4 the game before that, 2 the game before that. I mean, the guy gets on base. This isn't an Atlanta lineup that is expected to score a ton of runs, but Markakis has been batting fourth. So he's batting cleanup. Another great spot, batting behind Freddie Freeman. I'm a big fan of Nick Markakis at this price tag.
Yeah, Nick Markakis, great price tag. One thing I do here, I very rarely do this, but this is a total punt in the outfield for me. I'm punting in the outfield, really cheap, doesn't possess much power, but I'm going to take Adam Jones tonight. Adam Jones is elite play tonight. He's 5,400. The guy's got more power than he knows what to do with. He has a amazing matchup against Burley. He's got 16 ribbies, 5 home runs, batting .438. I mean, I look at his DraftKings photo and it's basically saying, "Pick me, or I'm just gonna hit 5 home runs in spite of you." The guy is an absolute animal. He 29 points, 25, 22, 16, 11, 33. Even if your DraftKings lineup tanks tonight, Adam Jones could possibly carry it with one good other hitter in your pitchers.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Adam Jones tonight. Plugged in, locked in, 5,400. I've got no remaining salary left. I'm ready for my DraftKings cash game lineups tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And just to put in perspective, everyone's talking about how hot Adrian Gonzalez has been. He's batting .469, Jones at .438. Each have 5 home runs, and Adam Jones has 2 more RBI. So that right there tells you. And it's an elite matchup. Average at best lefty. Yes, please. Get yourself some Adam Jones. With that, that's going to wrap things up for us here. Hopefully we helped you out with building your cash games. If you got any questions, I'm at Big Italy 42. He is at Space Jam 23 DFS. Follow us at Daily Fantasy Cafe, at DF Cafe on Twitter. Check out all of our great content, and we will see you guys tomorrow.